everybody thought I was 100% Dominican, and the Latin Kings was coming at me. Around that time, I'm Guyanese. I'm Guyanese. My mother's Dominican. I'm saying my mother. My father is Dominican, and Dominican and Brazilian. My father and my mother is 100% Guyanese. But I don't really fuck with the Spanish like that too much. I had like Spanish friends growing up, but I realized like a lot of Latin people, a lot of Puerto Ricans, they be having like hatred towards blacks and stuff. And I have black people in my family.
Lead the hottest nigga, you gon' respect this lava. I'm shooting it if I pull it, boy. Make sure you want this drama. I bring it to you like it's Law and Order SVU. Turn you to a vegetable, now you look good inside a soup. Family come from Bishopville, but I grew up in that Bronx Zoo where they shoot you dead in the street and then dance all on top of you. And I do what I gotta do to make a dollar, to make a dollar.
But yeah, basically, like, I'm from Brooklyn, Crown Heights, and like I'm a little older than you, so I kind of seen New York before the gang shit. I'm 38 years old, and I was here before the Bloods, before the Crips. Like some of the stories you hear about the past with Latin Kings, how they used to run the island, that's definitely true. Definitely true. Around like 14, 15 years old, I would say, I got into like a fight with a police officer in the summertime, and I ended up doing like about 4 to 5 months on Rikers Island, but they put me with the adolescents. But around that time, it's like Latin Kings, I would say Latin Kings was running shit, and they was seriously oppressing like black people. You feel me?
What year was this?
When I started high school, 98. It was 98. Like it was in the summer of 98, like July 98. I graduated 2001.
And that was your first time on the island?
That was my first time. And basically, when I was on the island, everybody thought like I was 100% Dominican, and the Latin Kings was coming at me. Around that time, I'm Guyanese. I'm Guyanese. My mother's Dominican. I'm saying my mother. My father is Dominican, and Dominican and Brazilian. My father and my mother is 100% Guyanese. But I don't really fuck with the Spanish like that too much. I had like Spanish friends growing up, but I realized like a lot of Latin people, a lot of Puerto Ricans, they be having like hatred towards blacks and stuff. And I have black people in my family, and I still consider myself black, even though I mixed with Hispanic. But back then it was a deep hatred towards blacks, and the Latin Kings had their numbers. They were seriously oppressing like the black kids, and the blacks. You had like blacks oppressing blacks back then, but it was not as serious as it is today. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Can you talk about some of the things you seen oppression wise that was going on at that time?
Around that time, like when you would come into these dorms, they had dorms back then for the children. You'll see like a lot of the Latin kids will like group up. Some of the kids that's not even Latin King used to oppress the blacks. Then around that time, that's when that Bloods was first early popping. You started seeing a little bit of Bloods forming. But around that time, I would say the Bloods was going to war with the Latin Kings. And you didn't see the Bloods oppressing blacks too much. They was more oppressing the little Latin Kings that they could. They was oppressing more Spanish people. That was because of the way we was being treated. And me, I had it kind of bad because of the way I looked. You know what I mean? So like I was not accepted by the Spanish, nor was I accepted by the blacks. It's like the kids that was in my neighborhood that knew me was rocking with me, and you had to put in pain back then. Back then, you could cut people, you could poke people up. You wasn't getting no charges. It was just very bad. My last time on Rikers, it was like a whole flip. When I went to Rikers recently, I'll say 90. The last time was
Wait, hold on, bro, because I wanna get gradually from the beginning all the way up to your last time. So
all right, I'm gonna show you 100% how I look. I'm gonna take off my hat so you can get idea how I look. Like I look Dominican. So like Puerto Ricans don't like Dominicans naturally. So when I first came to the island as a child, I was basically there. I had a school Metro card. This is when they first started giving out Metro cards in school. I didn't want to sign my Metro card, which was stupid. I wanted to keep it looking pretty and shit. And I went to swipe my card, and an undercover cop comes to ask me, what are you doing with a Metro card? I was like, hey, mind your business. He tried to snatch it from me. And that's when I punched him in his face. And my friend tripped him, and we started spanking him. He fell down the steps. This is like on Utica Avenue in Brooklyn. And he was dressed kind of like homeless. And another cop jumped, grabbed me, slammed me on the floor, and I was facing charges for assault on an officer. That's where it all started.
Okay.
And they had me in C74. I think it was C74, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely Fort Building, yeah.
Yeah.
And you said you was there for 4 or 5 months, and then what, you went out north or you went home on probation or something?
My mom paid for a lawyer. I had to get papers from Sheepshead Bay because I was in a program for kids that was like before starting high school. You could get credits through summer school. So I wanted to get credits in Sheepshead Bay, and I was like in a little basketball program. So I had to prove when my mom paid for the lawyer, we ended up getting a whole lawsuit and everything. And I got out, but it took a good 5 months.
Okay. So what do you remember, besides what you already said about that, your first time on the rock? What else could you remember? Did you get jumped at any point? Did you get in any kind of like real fights? Like, what else do you remember seeing and experiencing at that time?
I remember when we was on a bus, some black kids was telling me, hey, they were saying like to say that I'm crazy. If you say you're crazy and you're thinking about cutting yourself, they put you in PC. I was like, nah, why would I want to be in PC? Like, that sounds corny. So I didn't do that. And I saw some of the kids, they was giving up their sneakers. And they was like, yo, if you don't take off your sneakers, dudes is going to spank you for your kicks. I was like, yo, that shit not happening, man. So what I did was, I had a couple of kids from my neighborhood that I knew. We all clicked up. And I was like, yo, anybody comes to us with any stupid shit, we just gonna just jump their ass. So when I was on a bus, this kid kept looking at my kicks. As soon as we got an intake, and we was in intake, we was in there for like 5 days. It was 5 days before we went to the dorm. This kid just walked up, put his foot next to my shoes. Like, man, let me see if I can flip the camera. Like, he was putting his shoes
to see if you wore the same size.
Basically, like right here, next to my feet. He was like, yo, them shits is fly. He was like, yo, what size you wear? When he said that, I was like, what size am I? So I got up. I act like I was gonna show him the tongue, to flip him to show him the size of my sneaker. I uppercut him. I was like, that's the size I am. And from there, 2 kids tried to jump me. They did jump me, but the other guys that was with me, we jumped in, and they just separated us. And as soon as we came in the dorm, we had some Latin King kid that was in there, and they had some group called Trinitarios. I didn't understand that shit. Brooklyn, we don't have no Trinitarios.
So the Trinitarios was on even back then.
Yeah, they was with the Dominican cats. They were Dominican. Most of them were Dominican, and some were going to war with the Kings. Some was clicked up with the Kings to beat up the blacks.
So those guys was from the group with the dude tried to see what's up with your sneakers.
Nah, the dudes that was trying to see my sneakers was just some black kids. There was some kids from Brownsville. Brownsville is wild.
Yeah, everybody know about Brownsville.
Yeah, so back then it was like you could go to the workshop. You like you had to go for your GED, and you had to go for school. Because we was 14, I had to go to regular school. I didn't do no GED shit. So I was just going to regular math. You had to take math, science. What else was you taking? We took math, science, English, and some other courses. We had to take like 5 classes. We was in school for 5 hours a day. And what else I can remember? And I just remember just the oppression. Like, it's either you had to really be clicked up, because back then the Latin Kings was like seriously oppressing blacks, man. Like, the Latin Kings was oppressing blacks. Some of the Latin Kings had racial issues where they didn't like Dominicans. Dominicans didn't like black people. Dominicans are super racist. So it's like, it was just wild back then. And it's like the black people was really shook back then, because if you didn't have a clique, you didn't know people, you was a victim and you was getting extorted.